Good evening, everybody. It's Paul again, back for another live stream. It's 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock p.m. here in Zhongshan, China. Remember, I am streaming from mainland China, which means that if for some reason the connection goes bad, I will try to come back and reestablish connection. It's just one of those things about live streaming from mainland China that we all deal with and live with. But it is what it is. So it has been a while since I've made a video and been out there. Lots of things going on. But more than anything, during the holiday here, I took a little break. I took a little break and actually enjoyed myself. I did film a lot, but sitting at my desk here, other than lesson planning, I have been pretty quiet as far as editing goes. As you can see behind me here, I have my editing up for the Shangri-La Hotel here, and it's going quite slowly, mostly because of the new software. I'm getting it. It's just a different software than what I'm used to using. But I am working. I am editing. I'll talk more about some of the pitfalls that I've run into when it comes to editing in a little while. But before we get into that little business, all of my live streams are brought to you by fcustom.com. Here you can get customized sports jerseys for baseball, basketball, and football. You've seen in my past live streams, I have this one down here. This is the baseball, the LA Dodgers one, and I absolutely love it with Walkabout Rojo across my chest. But of course, you have your favorite football teams, your favorite basketball teams. They make great gifts. I know Christmas is over with, but you know what? Valentine's Day is right around the corner. And this is true. My father bought a couple of them for the family, and I know that my mother really loves hers. So hit the link below and enter the coupon code WalkaboutRojo for an additional 10% off. Again, that's fcustom.com. Little gift. Okay, with that being said, let's move on. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. It's been a Christmas full of work. I worked my tail off during the Christmas holiday. As you know, in China, Christmas is not a holiday, in fact, but it's ubiquitous. I mean, it's everywhere. You go to any of the malls, you go walk down the street, you have Christmas lights, there's Christmas trees, you have Santa Claus at all the malls. It's huge. And then in my WeChat friends group, everyone seemed to have a good time with Christmas this year. I had a great time. I spoke with my family back in California. Everyone is healthy and doing well, which I'm happy to hear considering everything else that's going on in America. It's wonderful to hear good news about the family. I actually got to speak with my sister, and as always, I hope all of you are doing well too. Every year here in Zhongshan, the old guard of Zhongshan expats, there aren't very many expats who live in Zhongshan. It's 3.5 million people, and I think I've met most of the foreigners who live here or who have lived here long term. Anyways, they tend to throw a giant party for men only. And they get together at a bar. You're required to wear some kind of Santa outfit, a gift exchange, and we drink. And I'll be honest with you, most of the gifts were alcohol. And of course, all that alcohol was open that evening. I didn't stay too late because I had to teach the next day, of course. But wow, what a party that was. No girls allowed. I guess at about like 10 o'clock, I guess most of the girls started to show up. But for the most part, it was dudes only. And you would think that, what a sausage fest, right? But actually, it was a ton of fun. It was great to just be with the guys. There were maybe 30 or 40 of us there, and see some old friends and catch up and, drink without the girls being there. And I had to go home. I actually did drink a little bit more than I normally do. I'm really not a bar guy. I don't drink very much. But when the Baijiu comes out and then after that the tequila comes out, it's hard to say no to a good tequila. Then you get your DD and you go home and sleep it off. Hey, John, thanks for joining me. Hello, John. I know it's early. I usually don't do live streams this early because it's too early in America, but it is, what is it? It's Wednesday night in Zhongshan, so I guess it would be Wednesday morning in America. Iceman's on. Great. Cool. Tonight, I'm drinking a nightcap. I just got back home. Jim Beam, and Coca-Cola. Pretty good little mix. It's a very, very sweet drink. So bourbon, Kahlua, and Coca-Cola, and it's like drinking a chocolate. It's like an alcoholic chocolate Coca-Cola. Fantastic. Yeah, it's my new favorite drink during the holiday. I wonder if it would be. And this is lukewarm. There's nothing warm or cooled about this, but I wonder if it's you know would be good hot. Can you drink hot Coca-Cola? Is that possible? I'll leave it to all you guys to figure that one out. All right, who else? So Iceman John's here. Great. 8 a.m. here. Uh, where are you, John? Are you Mountain Time then? Mountain Time, or is that Central Time? Okay. So that was the holiday dinner with the guys. Man, that was so much fun, and I'm already looking forward to it next year. But yeah, I've been taking a break from editing, focusing on working. I have about 2 hours left, or excuse me, 2 weeks left of teaching at the university. My last day will be on January 15th, and then I get a 6-week break, which I'm very much looking forward to. So 6 weeks break during the Spring Festival. We've been talking about where we want to go. Mona and I were thinking of taking a trip together. And we were thinking about going to Yunnan. I talked about going to Yunnan in the last live stream, doing Shangri-La, Lijiang, and Dali. But with the coronavirus here in China has started to creep up a little bit. I just heard on the news that in the next town over they found some frozen meats or something. So everyone's still on edge. They've always been on edge. No one's really let down their guard anywhere in China, from what I've seen. But it's still a thing, and I know in northern China it's creeping its head again, and they've got some lockdowns in place. So going to Yunnan, flying to Yunnan, and then traveling around might not be the most prudent thing to do this time of year. I am a teacher, and my health code could change overnight. There could be restrictions put on me because I'm a teacher, as most teachers in China have travel restrictions put on them because of these things. So we might do that. The other thing we might do, we just talked about it today actually, was Sanya. I've never been to Hainan Island, and Sanya would be a nice warm place. They got some great hiking. I saw a video about some great hiking there today. But if none of that happens, we might just do a road trip, or maybe 2 road trips. Changzhou and Hunan, they call it like a little mini Zhangjiajie. That's a nice little road trip. Takes about 5-hour drive from here. And it's a pretty remote area, so I doubt my health code would change if I drove up there. So some road trips are in our future, I think. And we're also talking about Fujian, north of Meizhou, Huiyan, and Chaozhou area. Again, we're still contemplating it. I'm going to be hanging around Zhongshan for a little while. I got a trip out to Kaiping planned. As far as New Year's Day, which is on Friday, it's freezing cold. I don't think we're going to go camping, but we might do a little day hike or something. But for the most part, we're staying indoors. We are hunkering down, and I'm laser focused on finishing my term and getting a nice break. If I can just finish my term with no issues, which there hasn't been any, 2 more weeks and I'm done. And it was very nice. By the way, I'm the only foreign teacher at the college right now, right? And the other teachers did a very nice thing. They took me out to lunch on Christmas Day and treated me to some Hubei food, which I was delicious. I took some video of it. It'll be in a future video. And I want to thank them. They're like 10 women and me. They gave me some tea for Christmas, and we sent a little video to my colleague who's still stuck in England, saying, "Hey, dude, we miss you. Merry Christmas." But I miss all of you guys out there, so Merry Christmas to all you guys. Good. Okay, so I talked about that. Okay, let's talk about this studio. I've now been in here for 1 month, and I love it. I absolutely love living here. It's fantastic. The neighborhood is the center of town. It's very walkable. decided, we went to a movie, went and saw Wonder Woman last week, which I liked. I know a lot of the critics have been panning Wonder Woman, and it wasn't as good as the first one. And it was long. It was like 2.5 hours long, and I thought Pedro Pascal's performance was a little campy, but part of it was really, really entertaining. I enjoyed it. It was a nice evening out. It was the first movie I've been to since Tenet, so many months since I've been to the movie theater, and it was a packed theater, and everyone was having a good time. It's great to be out. But we walked there. There is a movie theater here at this mall, but the Wonder Woman wasn't playing there. I guess it bombed here in China. It came out like a week ago, and nobody went and saw it. It's not a popular film. But the other movie theater is a brand new movie theater. It's maybe 1.5 kilometers away, and we just said, it's a nice evening. The traffic outside is terrible. We don't want to deal with parking, so we just walked it. And we walked through the neighborhood, and we got a cup of coffee on the way, and looked at some of the interesting shops. This neighborhood that I'm living in now is so walkable and just interesting. There's little shops, little hole-in-the-wall restaurants, and family-owned things, and there's a hospital nearby, and all the goodies that come with that, right? It was great for an evening just to go for a walk at night, and that's what I love about this place. It's the center of town. Everything is walkable. And I just learned how to use Meituan, by the way, so I can get my salads delivered to the house now. I always say, don't shop on Taobao. It makes you fat. Well, you know what? Meituan's going to make me fat, too. Yeah. So anyway, I was talking about this studio. I got two months left on the lease. I love it here. They said I can stay as long as I want. But we've been looking for a little bit larger place. This one is really small. I'm going to do a small little tour of this place in a future video. Because I've always given you like a little tour of all the places I've lived at, and this is one of them. So I'll give you a little tour of the building and the amenities of the building and how it all works, because it is really unique. I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that has living facilities that are similar to what I've seen here in China in this building. But it is rather small. Behind this black curtain is a bed, and it's just a bed and a carpet that I sit on and have my little carpet picnics for breakfast and whatnot. But there's no place to put my laundry. There's no place to do laundry. There's no washer, dryer, or anything. There's no armoire for my clothes. It's all just kind of on the other side of this black curtain. So the majority of this space is the office itself, and that's what I got it for. But wow, there's something going on outside. A lot of honking, but. But there's another place in the building next to it. It's the same complex, but it's got lofted. So the bedroom would be lofted, and it would be its own separate little area. And then the whole downstairs would be the office. That way, when people come and visit me at the office, they don't walk through my living space and all my laundry and clothes and my, unmade bed to come sit at my desk. So, and I do use this office quite a bit for that kind of thing. So. Again, when you see the tour of the facilities and everything, it'll make sense, I think. Okay. So that's coming up. We're looking at possibly the end of February for that. Possibly earlier, but it is going to be the Spring Festival. So we'll see how that works out. There's no rush, of course. Happy holiday. Hey, Gene's on. Jamaica Funk. Thanks for joining me. Happy holiday. Merry Christmas, Gene. Hope you're having a wonderful Christmas, man. Did you have any gigs for Christmas? Any music gigs? I should ask you, what is the best, because you're a music guy, Gene, what is the best Christmas album? You know how like every artist does a Christmas album? The Elvis Christmas album was everyone talks about that one. I thought it was pretty good too. Christmas album. I think the Righteous Brothers did a Christmas album at one point. Yeah. Okay, it's cold. I'm going to do some news about the weather here in a second, so I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me tell you a story what happened to me this morning. My car registration is due, so we have been trying to clear my points. I have 3 points I need to clear. and went down to the traffic police like I did before, and stood in line and wanted to clear it, get a ticket and go to the counter and pay the fine, basically, right? And they said, no, you have to make a reservation. That's new. Can't do it online. Tried many times to do it online, but in China, if you're a foreigner, your driver's license number is your passport number. And the online payment systems do not recognize passport numbers. So therefore, foreigners have to pay in person, at least in where I live. It might be different in other places. Every municipality has its own systems in place, and that's what it is like here. But I had to make a reservation, so I'm still trying to work on that. And then I got to do the registration, and of course I can't film it because filming in a police station, obviously, that's kind of a no-no, right? But it is rather interesting. Anyways, I'm driving back from the college to home this afternoon. Actually, this morning. I was just going to stop by and get a cup of coffee. Anyways, I'm driving down Zhongshan Lu, and there's this police stop. And they've been having these police roadblocks everywhere. And usually the roadblocks have been for the e-bikes because they banned all the e-bikes in Zhongshan now, unless you get a license and insurance and have certain regulations. My e-bike, the one I used to ride on, is now illegal completely. I can't ride it. It's literally sitting collecting dust in the construction zone at the college. I'm not even sure if it still works. It's been sitting there for a year. Anyways, I don't know. So I'm driving back, and normally these police things, we just go right through them, no problem, right? But he actually waved me through, and I had to stop and get out of my car and show my paperwork. And I remember being stopped by police in America, and every time I've been stopped by police in America, no matter where I was, the police have been very professional and friendly. But it is rather intimidating because these big guys that come, they have guns on their hip, and for the most part, police are quite predatory when it comes to stopping you. They hide in a corner, they hide behind a bush, or they follow you and wait for you to change lanes without signaling, or you don't come to a complete stop at a stop sign. You do that California roll thing. Anyways, they're very, very predatory. Here in China, I don't get that feeling at all. In fact, I've never seen a policeman actually pull somebody over. It's like not everything's done with cameras. But here was it was a 3-lane road, and 2 of the lanes were taken up by this traffic police stop, and they were just checking paperwork. Pulled in, and immediately the officer came right over, and he whipped to attention. He gave me a salute, and he's like, hello. I was like, wow, okay. So I saluted him back, friendly smile, showed him all my paperwork. Everything's good to go. Yeah, okay, good. And then afterwards, like by that time, because in this town, there aren't many foreigners that actually drive cars. So I guess I'm at a little bit of an anomaly. And by the time all the paperwork was checked and everything was good to go, there were like 4 or 5 other cops, surrounding and just kind of watching and wondering. And then they asked if I, take a photo. I said, sure, we'll take a photo. So they got next to me, and take a photo. It was great. And then they let me go. It was an interesting experience. It was wonderful, actually. And that's been my experience. I talked about this with my friend here. Then when you go to Guangdong, Shenzhen, some of these Shanghai, these big cities, the police, you're just another person there. It's no big deal. But here in this town in Zhongshan, every encounter I've had with the police, whether it be traffic police or just regular police officers, has been very positive and very professional. I love the police here. They're great guys. And girls. There are women traffic police on these giant bikes now. They have new motorcycles and new uniforms that are black and yellow, and they look cool. They're well trained. They're very professional. So I got to give a shout out to those guys. They've not only treated me well, but I think they do an excellent job with traffic control, and keeping this city a safe city. So big shout out to them. Sort of. I asked to play for some children in Christmas album. The Chipmunks. Just kidding. Maybe Nat King Cole. Oh, Nat King Cole. I didn't even think about that. Okay, I'll have to take a listen. You know, here's another thing about Christmas. I think I talked about this. Is the Christmas music starts as soon as Thanksgiving is over, and it goes on through. And it's still still hear Christmas music right now. Um, I hope I'm not losing the. Okay. And but the Christmas decorations will be up through Spring Festival. So the Christmas decorations stay up longer than they do back in the States. They stay up to the end of February, and I've even seen Merry Christmas on some of the malls here through the summertime. They didn't ban e-bikes completely. They just put regulations on it. So the larger e-bikes are illegal, like my e-bike. They have limiters as far as how fast you can go. 25 kilometers per hour, I think it is. The size of it, you have to have them registered with the police, and you have to show proof of insurance. These are all really good regulations, by the way, and I support them 100%, even though they essentially made me and all these other guys who have e-bikes useless. I think it's a good step. It's a step in the right. It needed to happen. It really did, because it was getting out of control. EV cars are next thing in China. They're already the thing in China, man. EV cars are everywhere. I mean, just you walk through a mall and everything's a Neo, a Tesla, or a BYD, or some kind of electric car or hybrid car. It's insane. It's really impressive. And the infrastructure is there to support it, not just in the gardens where people live, but in all of the public areas. The malls all have EV chargers. There's EV charging stations all over the place. All the buses are EV. All the taxi cabs are EV. The Meituan guys all ride e-bikes. It's everything's going electric here. I don't have an electric car because I like to travel long distances. So, I mean, if I just stayed in the city, electric car would be fine. But I like to go search for trailheads in the mountains. And you always have range anxiety when it comes to that kind of thing. I got pulled over on my e-bike last week, says Gene. Kind of a speed trap. They made me and 4 others on e-bikes pull over. They said we ran a red light, but the light was hidden behind a tree. No one saw it. Interesting. And you're in Shanghai, right, Gene? All of the Chinese bike riders were arguing with the police. They took their numbers, but then let me go and said, pay attention next time. Ah. Yeah. I told my friend at the mall today that story about me getting pulled over by the cops, and he's like, oh, every time it happens to me, I just ting bu dong my way through it. Even though he speaks Chinese, he just ting bu dong, and they just let him go. There's only so many times you can poke the snake before it bites you back. Yeah, the Neos are very nice. Fernando, who changed, it's not China Teacher Brand, it's like he rebranded his channel, which he needed to do, because he wasn't really talking about teaching English anymore. He was talking about so many other things. But I've ridden in his Neo, and it's pretty kick-ass. He asked me if I wanted to drive it, and I said I don't want to kill myself because it's so fast. The Xiaopeng, there's a Xiaopeng display in the mall downstairs, and I've been meaning to go by and just kind of talk with the guy, take a walk around, look at it. The Xiaopengs are pretty nice. I don't think they're as nice as the Tesla. I think the Tesla's just got a little bit more interesting design to it. But the Neos are fantastic. And if you watched my Guangzhou Auto Show video, there's another one. I think it's by GAC. Anyways, Neo partnered with... Neo's a technology company, and they had to partner with an auto manufacturer in order to make the Neo car itself. And I think it was GAC that, I could be wrong. It's one of the large, it could be SIAC. It's one of the larger Chinese automakers. Well, what they did is they created their own version of the Neo that looks and feels a lot like the Neo, but is like branded as a GAC. It's in my video. I can't remember the name of it though. It's driving me nuts. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, let's see. Oh, you're in Hangzhou, Zhejiang. Okay. Well, I haven't been to Hangzhou. God, so many places to go. I hope all is well for you. I know you're probably freezing your ass off up there, right, Gene? Everyone says, "Oh, it's so cold in Guangdong," and yes, it's a little chillier than it normally is. But you know what? I think it got down to like 14 today, centigrade. Is that right? 14? I don't recall, but when you compare it to Beijing or something, it's really not that bad. We can at least stand to be outside. I mean, it's not snowing outside, but it is chillier than usual. I'm going to talk about that when we get to the news. NIO will partner with Apple soon, or later Apple Car. I'm excited for the Apple Car. They announced it, that they are working on it. I'm curious. They said something about having their own battery technology, which will increase range, and a couple of other. I know Amazon's working on a car as well that will integrate the Alexis, technology, the AI technology. All of this is headed towards self-driving cars. But one thing and I've been talking about Chinese electric cars a lot and how they're kind of leading the pack, right? And Fernando came up with a great philosophy. We had a discussion in a live stream once, months and months ago. And Tesla started the electric car craze in America. But Tesla had to build the infrastructure. And they're still trying to build it out. It's not quite there outside the major cities, right? What China did is that they built the infrastructure, and then they took something like a BYD and made all the taxi cabs in Shenzhen electric. So they were forced to build the infrastructure, and now the private sector can come in and start selling EV cars using that infrastructure that's already been built. So they kind of did it backwards, and it seems to be pretty successful. But now in America, you've got things like the Ford Mustang. Is it the Epoch or something? I don't know. It's that little SUV Mustang, which looks really nice and is getting a lot of attention. You got the Hummer EV coming out, which I think is overpriced, obviously. But you've got all the major manufacturers that have a lineage of producing vehicles starting to produce electric cars. And that's very exciting for the American car industry. They're a little behind, but it'll be interesting to see the race between Chinese-made EVs and American EVs, which are behind. But remember, they have the ability to jumpstart it as fast as they can. They have the capital, they have the intellectual capital, they have the infrastructure in place, dealerships, service areas. It'll be interesting what happens. And now that we have a new president who's going to kind of champion, this form of transportation, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited about what's happening in America when it comes to that. Save the money, buy NIO shares. You will be rich soon and retire. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. NIO is very impressive. They're flush with capital. They've got too much cash to throw around. I don't know what their share price is, but I don't think they're making a profit yet. But then again, Tesla didn't make a profit for a long, long time. Tesla, for a little while, saying was overvalued. NIO might be overvalued. You never know. There was a comment made on my car video recently about how car companies, especially EVs, coming into the market, but what they lack is brand recognition, and they lack dealerships and a support mechanism for car owners. And that was a great point. It's very true. Unless you're from a large manufacturer, if you're a new person coming on the scene, it's very hard to put all that and launch something nationally. So Ford and GM have that, obviously. Tesla's had to build it from scratch. But something like NIO can piggyback on their partnership to do that. But to launch NIO in a different, if they want to launch in North America, which I think they're planning on doing, they're going to have to build all that infrastructure from scratch. It's going to be a long time before that can happen. $45 a share today. Yeah, I need to know their price to earnings ratio. $3. Wow. So from March to today, they've went from $3 to $46. Yeah, Bitcoin has also jumped like 200%. I'm interested in cryptocurrencies recently. I've kind of gotten interested in Bitcoin a little bit. Is it inflated right now because it's jumped so high? Am I getting on the bandwagon a little too late? Maybe. No one really knows. But I think that digital currencies are the future. And I know all central banks around the world are talking about digital currencies as they are in China. They're launching the digital RMB here in certain markets to combat things like WeChat Pay, Alipay, and things like Bitcoin. Okay. All right, let's talk about. Sunday, Mona and I went down to Zhuhai and we had some fun and made a video about it. It's all raw footage. I'm going to have to put it together in the next couple of weeks, but it's coming out soon. We went to China's largest VR theme park. And now everyone is. I've never been to a VR theme park. In fact, I've never actually experienced virtual reality, headsets or anything. They have like little things in the mall where you can go and like shoot aliens, but I've never actually done it. But I was interested in this because you guys know I love theme parks. I love Disneyland. I've been to a lot of Universal Studios. And of course, Universal Studios is where you ride the movies, right? And they're very, very popular. I've been to the one in Singapore and of course the one in LA. Lionsgate Entertainment. You might have heard that somewhere in the back of your head, but if you don't know, Lionsgate is the studio behind things like the Hunger Games, the Twilight series, Now You See Me, that magic movie, which was pretty good, the Magic Heist movie. Divergent, I think that was Gods of Egypt, which was a terrible movie, but one that I love to watch. Anyways, yeah. So think Universal Studios, but it's not Universal movies. It's Lionsgate movies. When they don't have a lot of movies in their repertoire, they just have these series, which were very successful series, by the way. The Twilight and the Hunger Games movies, you can imagine. So what they did, they created a theme park about it, but it's not like a theme park with like roller coasters and everything. This is a mall. It's a giant mall that's pretty much empty, but half of the mall seems to be this Lionsgate VR theme park. So imagine a mall that you go to. It has like a center atrium with like escalators that go up to the different floors. And on like the third floor is restaurants. And you might have a Gap and a couple, clothing stores and maybe a Discovery store, right? But imagine that. But none of those are there. Instead, each floor is like its own little theme. And then the stores are the VR rides based on those movies. And of course, they have themed restaurants, and there's like a magic shop and things like this. And we had a great time. It was fun. It wasn't very big. I think we got the whole thing done in like less than 4 hours. And it closed at 7 o'clock, which was surprising. You couldn't even eat dinner there. But it goes really slow, but when you have the VR headset on, you can't see anything. You just feel the roller coaster moving as you go through the track itself, and it's all timed. It just takes you into the VR setting. That wasn't the most interesting one, though. They had like a dark ride one, was based on Twilight, which is kind of lame. Still high class, high end. This is not a low end place. The Lionsgate spent a lot of money on this place, and it shows. And by the way, the service there was excellent. The people there were great. The best one was a Twilight series version, but you got on a motorcycle, and you put on the headset and all that, and you can see your hands. I mean. And then you look around, and it's almost like a 360 degree, and you're on this motorcycle, and you're riding through the forest. It was awesome. And you're fighting like vampires or werewolves or something. I don't know exactly, because everything's in Chinese. So I didn't understand fully the storyline, but you didn't have to understand the storyline to enjoy the ride. That was really, really cool. A nice way to spend an evening. And, of course, we walked through the mall looking for a place to eat. Couldn't find anything because everything was closed. There was a food court, but everything was closed. And the mall is one of these ghost malls. It's a beautiful mall. It's fairly new. It's maybe less than 2 years old. All lit up. There's a Hyatt Regency there, a hotel. And it's just empty. But we did find one German restaurant. of all restaurants to be open was a German restaurant. We were the only ones eating there. And we just sat on the patio. We had the whole mall, this gigantic mall to ourselves, eating a salad sausage dinner. It was cool. Apparently, in the same mall next to it is also a National Geographic theme park. I was reading it was geared mostly towards children, but it's similar kind of entertainment experience, but themed on National Geographic. I would like to go back and check that out. I really would. Even though I guess it's for children, I think it would be interesting. Something for the future, maybe. Where this is in Zhuhai. This is in right near the Qianlong Ocean Kingdom in the most southern part of Zhuhai, maybe 20 minutes from the Macau border. Brand new part of Zhuhai, brand new mall, a lot of construction going on in there. It's one of those areas where they have tons of residential towers, but none of them have been moved into yet. So the mall is this beautiful giant mall, but there's no residential to support any kind of retail or nightlife scene there. There are a couple of office towers there, but it was a Sunday, so I don't know if they were occupied or not. Very interesting place. I hope to go back there. I couldn't fly the drone because it's actually in the flight path of the Zhuhai airport, but that's where it is. Very, very interesting. Yeah, people are talking about Bitcoin right now because the price has skyrocketed. And people are hedging their bets against the U.S. dollar after the election. They're pumping so much money and into the system in America that people don't really know what's going to happen with inflation. So everyone's hedging their bets against the inflation of the dollar using Bitcoin, and I think it's a smart move. You can do that, or you can do precious metals. That's where traditionally most people go to hedge their bets against the dollar. The RMB is doing pretty well right now. The economy here is booming. There's a narrative out there that nobody wants to do business with China. That's not the case. Tons and tons and tons of people are doing business with China. It's hard to do business with the rest of the world. China's kind of hoping that the rest of the world can get back on their feet so that we can all do business again. But China just signed the world's largest trade deal like ever just a couple months ago, and it's showing. The economy here is booming. It really is. Things are not back to the level that it was before the coronavirus, but things are quickly moving in that direction. And as always, I'm pretty bullish about what's going on here. Okay. Any questions? How many people are watching? Okay, everyone out there. I'm glad I still got a strong stream. Let's go to the news, shall we? Okay, so let's see here. As always, my live streams are brought to you by fcustom.com. I've got mine and my LA Dodgers. I got another one that's in New York Yankees that they sent to me. I'm a Dodger fan, not a Yankee fan, but I can respect the Yankees. You can go here, and these are really cool. Again, my family's all bought them, and they've given me. There's other holidays coming up that you can buy a gift and support my channel. Hit the link below and enter the coupon code WalkaboutRojo for an additional 10% off. Get yourself a nice little gift to support the channel. Okay, or a little more shameless self-promotion, shall we? You can follow me on Facebook. This is Walkabout Rojo. Here you can get photos, behind-the-scenes type trailers of places that I'm going and things that I'm doing before the actual vlog comes out. This was my Christmas photo I sent to everyone. My vlogs are I'm drinking coffee. I have the drip coffee here in the office that I'm enjoying. And so if you want to buy me a coffee, that's great. You can support me there, or you can support me on Patreon. I have 5 supporters now, and love them all dearly. Thank you very much. Okay, so people have more choices in China as new professions emerge. There's 2 stories that I have about this. And here's the other one. Millions of Chinese return to rural areas to start. To start what? This is a phenomenon that's going to be very interesting in China. I've been talking about, if you watch my real estate video that it did about how 200 million people have moved from the rural parts of China into the cities, and that's why you see this huge boom in residential. And in the next 10 years, there'll be another 200 million people moving into the cities, which will only equate to 60 to 70% of the total population, and that's still less than what most developed nations have as far as urban dwellers. There's a new phenomenon happening, and it has to do with young entrepreneurs, bolstered by forms of models of business, new professions like operation and maintenance personnel of industry, robot systems, ability appraisers for the elderly, and online marketers have sprouted up in China, bringing more choices for young Chinese in the job market. They have this thing here called slashers. People will get a job, full-time job, but they also have these part-time jobs. They are opening up Taobao stores. They are being KOL marketers. They're selling things on WeChat. They're being affiliate marketers. This has always been a thing, but it's so big in China, and it continues to grow. I read somewhere that like 1 in 3 young Chinese people, professionals, have a side gig, some kind of side hustle that they're using to make extra money. And a lot of it has to do with the online space, whether it be trying to influence on Douyin or again, selling some kind of arts and crafts gift, or using Weixin or WeChat to sell snacks or candies. I've seen it. I've been a part of it. I know what's going on. I know it's huge here. And the coronavirus really accelerated this in the earlier part of the year. And now it's starting to mature a little bit more. And if people are not in this space, it seems like everyone's talking about and wanting to get into this space. So things like a YouTube channel like I do as my side gig is of great interest to a lot of the young people out there looking to diversify their income streams. So I think this is an interesting phenomenon, and what's in conjunction with the next story, where millions of Chinese return to rural areas to start. Chinese rural industries maintained a sustained and stable development in 2020, with 10.1 million people returning to their hometowns in rural areas to start businesses, which has helped increase farmers' income and provided strong support for decisive battle against poverty and the achievement of an all-around better-off society, announced China Minister of Agriculture and Rural Affairs on Tuesday. In addition, Mona and I had dinner in a place called Sanxi Village here in Zhongshan, which is this very old neighborhood that is being gentrified. The buildings are old. They haven't been repainted. They still carry that historic kind of feel to it, but they have modern businesses, modern art. What do you call them? Art studios, I guess. There's skin care, there's hair salons, there's bars and restaurants, and it's this mix. You see it also in Beijing. We saw it in Huangyao when we stayed at that wonderful hotel, and this is something coming up. When I first came to China 5 years ago, nobody wanted to stay in the older neighborhoods. You know, everyone's like, oh, they're old, we want to stay in the new neighborhoods. Well, it seems like there's more of an interest now in these old neighborhoods, and taking these older buildings in these older rural neighborhoods, putting new kitchens, new bathrooms in them, and that's a thing that the young people seem to be embracing more and more these days. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion about it. Hey, Matt's on. Hey, Matt, thank you for joining me. Big fan, Jayo Nation. Yes. We're talking about, I haven't talked about it. I know the title of it is memorable, but it has been memorable. And I will explain that here in a second. So anyways, that's a phenomenon going on. So there's more of an interest of returning to nature, returning to the rural areas, because, and my friend mentioned this, we were driving the other day, and she mentioned that when you look at these giant residential blocks, a building after building after building, there's these little squares in the sky. And I said to her, yeah, it's like human storage. And I think Mona agreed with that. But that's how I've always felt about it, where, I had this term years ago called zoo humans. We are zoo humans living in boxes in the sky rather than living our lives. And I think as the Chinese young people want to distinguish themselves, they want to be more independent. They want to have a life that's theirs and not like anybody else's. And what better way to do that is to shunned the idea of living in a box in the sky and trying to find ways to return to the rural countryside. This is just something I've noticed. I could be wrong. I could be talking out of my ass, but this is something that I have noticed. And I want to embrace this because I think it's a great thing. It's what I want. I mean, yes, I live in a box in the sky right now, but that doesn't mean I don't want to live in the countryside. The mosquitoes are the only thing that scare me right now. Yeah, Matt's on. Okay, so let me talk about that real quick. So he mentioned it. Yes, it's memorable. I'm finishing up my end of year review. Every year I do a end of year review. I've got it right here, and I've been working on it and going through all the videos that I posted. I posted, 119 videos in 2020 with, what is that? 895 minutes total of content. I've gotten 250,000 views and over 21,000 hours of watch time. That's 30% increase. 1,600 new subs. That's a 17% increase from the previous year. And 3.7 million impressions for an increase of 15% and 15%. So my channel continues to grow as people discover me more, and I appreciate the support. But I was going through it, and of course, the first part of it was all coronavirus and me stuck on the university, and watching these videos again made me realize how much I and everyone else has grown. You can't deny it. Yeah, I'm watching other 2020 end of year videos, and they're all saying how they want to forget 2020. 2020 was shit. I can't wait for 2021 and to turn it all around. And yeah, there's truth to that. But the other truth that we have to recognize is that 2020 was a wake-up call in many ways, but also was a time for us to look inward at ourselves, to appreciate the little things that we had lost sight of. I know I appreciate little things like the freedom of movement. When I was locked down for weeks and weeks and weeks, couldn't go anywhere because of this virus. Now I don't take that for granted. I don't take it for granted that I can move and go places, whenever I want. I don't take my family for granted. During this time, my family had some health issues, and I was worried, but I couldn't leave. I couldn't go home to be with them. My grandfather passed, and I talked about that in the live stream. That hit me hard. It was very hard for me to talk about that in that live stream, but when he passed, I couldn't go home for the funeral. So 2020 is memorable, but in a different way. Whereas 2019, I often refer to as the greatest year of my life because I got to travel so many places and do so many wonderful things. 2020 was memorable in a different way. Some people can look at it in a bad way. I look at it and try to look at the positive of it. Yeah, there were bad things that happened, bad things that continue to happen. But you got to flip the paradigm a little bit and try to see it as a growth moment. And that's what I mean by memorable. I will never forget 2020 for the good and the bad. So that's why 2020 is the way it is. Matt, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Matt says, 2020 was unfortunately incredible for my channel. It's a strange silver lining on the dark side cloud. On the dark cloud. The stories you told were important for so many, as the stories you did too, Matt. I'm a big fan of how you articulate your thoughts and your stories with your conversations, and I've stolen some of your sayings and used them in my personal life. Any predictions as to when Hong Kong will become a fully functioning travel bubble with the GBA, the Greater Bay Area? Great question, Sergio. I have no idea. Probably was it 2040 or something like that. They're putting all the infrastructure in place so that when it does happen, it happens like that. I think it'll be a gradual thing. I talked about Hong Kong being an excellent change management case study. When I was in grad school, I studied change management and I was attracted to it immediately. I almost worked as a consultant for change management because it is that interesting a field. And Hong Kong is going to forever be in all of the textbooks about change management. What's the best way to incorporate Hong Kong into mainland China? Do you do it gradually or do you do it overnight? And we're seeing the struggles and the pain that comes with these things that happen. I don't take a stand one way or the other. I'm not going to get into that. That's, it's not my thing. But from an outsider looking at everything that's happening and everything that's going to be happening in the future, we can all predict what's going to happen. It's from a change management standpoint, from a purely case study, academic standpoint, this is a fascinating thing that's happening. And then you can compare it to what's happening in Macau, which is also a similar, but has its own little anomalies. It's really, really interesting. I think I'm in one of the most dynamic places in the world being in the Greater Bay Area right now. Not just because of Hong Kong, Macau, but Shenzhen, Guangdong, the entire Bay Area, the infrastructure projects that are happening here, the growth of the economy, the growth of the population, the struggles with climate change and the rising sea levels, what's it going to do to the lower level. We see it here in Zhongshan. Every time it rains, it floods the streets. I love living in a place that is in the news and is changing dramatically every year. I talked about this too. Whenever I go back home to America, it's the same buildings, it's the same restaurants, it's the same people, and that's wonderful. I love that. I love home. But if I leave Zhongshan for 3 months, I come back, everything is different. You have new restaurants, new buildings have gone up. Old buildings are gone. The streets are wider. The gardens are green. It's just incredible, and it makes life just interesting. How you doing over there? You getting bored? All right. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Matt, for joining. Sergio, great question. We'll talk soon, Sergio. 2020 made me and break me. Yes, good and the bad goes life. Good bad life goes on. Yes. Again, 2020 is memorable. I think we've all learned more about ourselves in 2020. I know I've learned more about myself, and you'll never fully understand yourself or the world. Someone said, Paul, you don't understand China, and they're right. I don't. It's impossible. It's a massive thing that's constantly changing, and that's what makes it so much fun, is that constant pursuit of trying to learn everything about something, including yourself. That's what my channel is all about. The idea of Walkabout is all about discovery of places, people, things, and more importantly, myself. And I'm smart enough to know I don't know everything, including about myself. So that's why I have a vlog. The vlog is not only documenting my discoveries and when I go about doing things, but also sharing it with all of you and mostly my family back home. And you guys often teach me new things as well, which is great. Steal away. I've got your permission. Thanks, man. I'm going to do it, man. I think I have bone spurs in my foot, which is keeping me from finishing that trail running video. I promised I'd go see a doctor after the new year. You know me, I'm stubborn when it comes to that kind of thing. All right, let's go back to the news. So we talked about that. First marriages plummet by 41% in China. I love relationship, male-female dynamics. I think that, sociology and societal statistics are fascinating no matter where you are. So here we are. Fewer young Chinese have been willing to get married in recent years. The first marriages seeing a sharp decline of 41% 0.4% between 2013 and 2019. Wow, that's huge. The number of people getting married for the first time dropped from 23.86 million in 2013 to 13,099,000 in 2019. Wow. The fall is largely due to the decline of newborn babies in the early 1990s who now have come into marriage age, said demographer Zhao Haiwang, Deputy Director of the Institute of Population and Development under the Shanghai Academy of Social Sciences. Statistics show that China's birth rate fell from 21.06 to 17.12 newborns per 1,000 people from 1990 and 1995. This is consistent with what we've seen in other developing nations. As nations develop and get richer, the birth rates go down, and you start to see, you see that. Look at, maybe it happened in America, but look in Japan. Japan's really struggling with this, right? Yes. Hey, Dalton's my old buddy from Zhongshan. Dalton, meet Matt from Jiao. You know, I'm telling you, Matt, you've got a lot of friends in this community. So I know things have been heated from certain individuals out there. Don't listen to them, man. You do you, and the rest of us will support what you do because you do it better than anybody. Apart from the population issue, marriage itself is less attractive to young Chinese people today as they are more independent, both financially and mentally, and more self-centered than previous generations, observers said. I can't disagree with that. The financial pressure of marriage is also a big obstacle for young Chinese people. Yes, especially Chinese men. I have a lot of Chinese friends who, you know, I was talking with him. I was riding passenger. He was driving somewhere. I think it was in Jiangmen, and I asked him, "Hey, dude, are you gonna get married?" And he's like, "No, I have to buy a house first, and I have to have a certain amount of money for a bride price or something like that, or a gift to the." I don't know. It was something like that. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of pressure, especially, and women get a lot of pressure too. I'm not denying that. I mean, let's face it, the families are still rather traditional, and you know, Spring Festival is coming up in just a few short weeks, and I know the ladies out there are going to get a lot of pressure from their families. Happens every year. All right. The number of couples registering for marriage has been decreasing since 2013, with the number reached peak level. Oh, we already did that. Okay. However, it is worth noting that remarriages are more common now in China. That's interesting. Where the traditional concept of sticking to one marriage is no longer quite so blinding. In 1985, only 500,000 people in China remarried. The number doubled in 2010, and in 2019 it grew to 9 times to 4.5 million, statistics show. Increasingly, China's high remarriage rate is largely driven by its real estate market. I talked about this. You know, in my real estate, you know, if you go to places like Shenzhen, they have policies there where if you're a married couple, you can't buy a third home. I don't know if that's still the case, but I remember they came out. It was like overnight they came out with that. And so people just got divorced on paper and went out and bought a bunch of other properties, and that kept the market going. So that's a very interesting thing, a byproduct, if you will, of some of these policies. Steve says, I see. Yeah. Am I back? I'm back. Heart leapt out of my chest. I think I'm still connected. Please, if I'm still connected, give me a thumbs up in the comment section, guys. All right. But Steve says, girls need to hire a boyfriend. That was a thing a couple of years ago on Taobao. I don't know if it's still a thing where you can hire like a boyfriend for Spring Festival. I'm sure it's still out there. He who shall not be named. It was a great video. We talked, Matt, you and I talked about that video the night before it came out, and I didn't give you the props that you deserved on it, man, because it's wonderful to see. Because, you know, I think Winston, he who shall not be named, excuse me, I think he honestly believes what he says, and so I think he's still a relevant voice in the community. But it's great to hear, you know, people being able to tell their side of the story from a different worldview than what other people might have. That's the beauty of YouTube. It's a very democratic area. It's a very democratic place where everyone has a right to say what they truly believe. And it's up to the viewer to make up their mind. And that's the missing piece, is that people will watch Fox News, CNN, or YouTubers blindly and just say, okay, that's got to be the truth. And that goes on both sides of the coin, including me, by the way. So I think people need to make up their own minds, use a little bit of critical thinking, look at two worldviews, and then try to find their own truth. And that's what I love about this space, is that we have the ability to do that. And YouTube is uniquely positioned for something like that. So it's great to see both sides of the coin. You know, I love how you took it to him. I really do. you know, but at the same time, I understand his point of view. I understand why he thinks the way he does and why he says the things he does. I don't agree with it, but I do think it's an important point of view so that we don't follow some one ideology blindly. We all need to think critically and take everyone's point of view into consideration. Our point of view, as we live in China, I think has more relevance than someone who hasn't been here for a long time and just sits in front of a green screen. We've all been talking about that for years, and that how that can, it's no fault of his. I mean, how you can quickly become out of touch as things change so quickly in China. Like overnight, something can change. Unless you're here to experience it, you really have no idea what you're talking about. I think you all can agree with me on that one. I'm drinking my Kool-Aid. Yeah. Oh, focus. Focus. Can you guys see me? Look at that. The camera's not going to focus. Let's do this. I'm out of focus. It's a new camera. I haven't fully figured out how to use it yet. And come back. Is it going to focus? All right. It wants to. It's working on it. Come on. Wake up the hamsters. All right, one more time. Focus. Come back out. All right, we're back. Okay, got it. The wonders of YouTube and technology. Okay, let's go back to the news. Okay. Cold wave arrival. Temperatures dropped to the lowest in 20 years. Everyone's been talking about this for the last week in China. It finally arrived. It arrived last night, and today was the first day. It's really cold. In Guangdong, it's really cold. I remember in like 2016, it actually snowed here. It was that cold. It was down to 0. But this is saying that it will affect regions the following 3 days, with temperatures dropping by 8 to 10 degrees centigrade. In Shanghai, the temperatures are expected to drop by 12 degrees. Yeah, it was overnight. 2 days ago, it was like summer here. It was 28 degrees in Zhongshan. It was hot. I was sweating in the classroom. And then today, it was cold. It's a huge temperature change. Incredible. Ningbo was negative 12. Ouch. What was the windshield factor? I met a Canadian. I was playing badminton last night. We went and played badminton after we ate dinner in Sanxi Village. And I met a Canadian guy there. He's not from like Toronto or Vancouver. He's from Canada. He is from like northern Canada, some podunk little 5,000 person town. Like basically the North Pole. I mean, this guy lived in an igloo. I don't know what it was, but he showed a weather report of his hometown, and it was negative 56. And I said, negative 56 Fahrenheit? He said, no, centigrade. What? I couldn't believe it, man. Blowing like mad. Yeah. I hope you bring in your plants. I have no plants, Dalton. Sorry, brother. Every time I get a plant, I kill it. I have a plant here, but of course the IE waters it for me, so I don't have to worry about it. All right, let's continue with this. Okay, so yeah, it's cold. It's gonna be cold for the next couple of days. I think there's another cold streak headed to us next week. It's just the season. It's winter. I'm happy with it. I love the seasons. It'll get hot once again, and we'll all be complaining about the heat. This is quick to quip comedian called out for comments on men. This is from Six Tone. I haven't read through this. I haven't even seen this comedian yet, Yang Li. But I put it up here because I meant to do more research about this, but I'll have to do it for Rojo Reads the News or something. When paid self-study rooms thrive in China. Of course, I'm a teacher, so this interests me. Paid self-study rooms in a shared space have become more and more popular among learners and entrepreneurs in China in recent years. I haven't seen this, but it doesn't surprise me. I like to go to a coffee shop to do work, but coffee shops are flooded with, mothers and their children and middle-aged school kids playing video games. And it's not a good place to study or have a meeting anymore. I mean, I have my coffee shop. It's kind of a hidden little secret of mine because it's the best place. But I don't go to Starbucks for this kind of thing because it's just outrageous. I can't hang out there. So I don't. And, of course, at the college, it's too noisy. And you're sharing a dorm room with, 7 other kids. Where do you find – and they're all playing video games, by the way. So where do you find a quiet place to study? So it just does not surprise me. 2019, about 1,000 paid study rooms were newly added across Chinese cities. So far, there were over 200 shared study rooms in cities such as Shenyang, Beijing, Shanghai, and Xi'an, respectively. In particular, Shenyang is home to over 360 such study lounges, ranking first in the country. Equipped with eye-carrying lamps, comfortable tables and chairs, air purifiers, and various kinds of stationery, these study rooms also provide tea, snacks, and other services. Cool. This is a good thing. This is better than the internet cafes that seem to thrive in most major cities. I love going to the one at the old Dashin. Dashin are great most days. What are you talking about? You mean the Starbucks at Old Dashin? That's right downstairs, man. I will go there because there is a lower level that's away from the actual coffee bar itself, and it's a pretty good place to work. I've done a lot of work there before. A man is no less a slave because he is allowed to choose a new master once in a term of years. Alpha Warriors. A man is no less a slave because he is allowed to choose a new master once in a term of years. That's deep. The newer Dashin is its own little thing. I mean, it's separated by a few apartments, but old Dashin is still kind of doing its thing, just like it was before. New Dashin is its own thing going on here. There's no Starbucks at the new Dashin, but there's a Luckin. Dalton, you got to come back to Zhongshan and see all you'll go crazy and see all the new developments here. China lowers age of criminal responsibility to 12. China has lowered the age of criminal responsibility to 12 years old for abominable crimes such as murder or causing injury that leads to death or severe disabilities by extremely cruel means. Okay. Children in China aged 14 to 16 can be held criminally liable if they intentionally commit serious violent crimes such as murder and rape. For most other offenses, the age of criminal liability is 16. Down to 12. Interesting development. What do you all think about that? Matt, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I feel honored that you joined the live stream, man. Take care, and thanks again for all of your continued support, man. I really appreciate it, dude. I know. Got to put the kiddies to bed, dude. 2021. I'll be counting down the new year at the local bar. Dalton, you're looking at possible internships. I hope you're talking about maybe a place like Shenzhen or Shanghai. I don't think there's anything here in Zhongshan worthy of you. Did you ever finish your your study of Chinese and Xiaolan? I was curious. I didn't ever ask you that, man. Okay, let's do the last one here. Hot new robot restaurant opens in Nanshan. A robot-themed restaurant officially opened at the Kexing Science Park in Nanshan District. I've been interested in these. I haven't gone to one. I want to go just to check it out. The restaurant, which has far fewer extra staff compared to a typical restaurant, deploys multiple robots walking the floor and riding overhead to take orders, answer inquiries, and deliver dishes. I've seen these robots at Haidi Lao. They're fascinating. Diners take their seats, order food, and a robot carrying the prepared food arrives at the table. That's what it kind of is like that at Haidi Lao. Of course, Haidi Lao is very famous for its service, but they still have these delivery robots at Haidi Lao. Well, this is a little more autonomous, it looks like. Yeah. So there's no actual server that puts it on your table. You have to take it out. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if they have, I hate to say this, but I wonder if they have, an English menu. That's so bad to say. But I really do. It would make it. In addition to robots walking on the ground, robots also travel via rails on the ceiling of the restaurant, referred to by the staff as the Hot Pot Cloud Rail Food Delivery System. Say that 10 times fast. The Hot Pot Cloud Rail Food Delivery System. Hot Pot Rail. What a tongue twister. Look at that. That's so cool. Yeah. Very cool. The robot restaurant is developed by the Qianxi Robot Group. At this year's high-tech fair, Qianxi Robot Group signed more than 10 restaurant projects in Shenzhen and plans to build robots for the entire industry chain, covering production, supply chain, and operations. All right. Something to look at if you're an investor. I saw something from Boston Mechanics about robots dancing on Facebook, and it blew me away. The technology for robots. Man, what's going to happen, man? What's going to happen with robots? Are we ever going to get the Amazon drones delivering, pizzas to our house? Don't know. Yeah. In the meantime, all this stuff, I think, just makes you fat. All right. With all that being said, what a great live stream this was. I really enjoyed it. We had a great visit from Jio Nation, old friends Dalton, Iceman, everyone very involved. It was wonderful. And if you missed the live stream, I hope you enjoyed it on the replay. Again, great. Don't forget to go to fcustom.com, support the channel, hit the link below, and enter the coupon code WalkaboutRojo for an additional 10% off of that. Great gifts. Again, I've loved working with these people. They're fantastic, and they're a big supporter of my channel and the upcoming Rojo Reason News. So many new things coming out in the new year. I had to get through the year, the term. I got 2 more weeks left in the term, and then I got 6 weeks off. And all these things on my whiteboard, I'm hoping to clear it, or at least clear a good number of them. I filmed a lot. I have the new DJI Pocket 2 that comes with the microphone, and I filmed a bunch of things with that microphone with no audio. I can't figure out why the audio doesn't work, so I had to redo it again. And but for the most part, for the last 2 weeks, I have been taking a little break for the holiday and focusing on rest and trying not to go crazy with the workload that I'm under right now. So 2 more weeks, and then continue on. As you saw behind me, I'm working on the Shangri-La Hotel video right now with the new editing software, which is going slow, but I'm getting it. I'm slowly getting it. And then the year in review video will be out soon, followed by a new food video, a new China randoms, and the Lionsgate VR park that we enjoyed over the weekend, which is going to be a really cool video, I think. Yeah, Dalton, thanks for joining me. Nadine, hi Paul, great to hear your channel has grown over the year. I found your channel through Matt. You both have been inspiring and calming during the madness of 2020. Thank you, Nadine. I'm glad. Thank you for watching. Uh, we all just keep talking about and trying to live our best lives through everything that's going on. And again, the title of this was 2020 was memorable. It was memorable not just for the bad things, but also the good things and also the growth that we all experienced as human beings, not Chinese people, not American people, but as people. And that's the message that I know Matt and I know everybody else is trying to convey. Gene has one more question. Do you have to do makeup classes for holidays? Uh, it's a great question. No, I don't. uh, I I had 2 lectures scheduled for January 1st, the New Year's Day. And of course, it is a holiday. And I asked, do I have to come in on Saturday to do it? They said, nope, they've been canceled. So awesome. I'm a very, very lucky man, I guess. Anyway, guys, it's late. It's been on for a while. I have a couple more things I got to take care of before midnight, before my bedtime. I want to thank everybody for your patience out there and your continued support. Be on the list.